What does joy mean to you? Do you think joy disappears when life gets hard? What if joy isn't about avoiding pain, but to find the meaning within it? Today, I will share with you that there is a way to create space for joy, not only when everything is going well, but even in pain. I grew up in communist Poland in a tiny two-room home with my mom and my youngest brother, Jacek. We didn't have a bathroom, no restroom, no heating. We slept in the same bed. And some days we even didn't have food. My mom struggled with alcohol. At 6, I became a caregiver for my youngest brother, who was only just 1 year old. And some days, I had to take care of my mom. She would be so drunk. I had to put her in bed, to clean the house from the empty bottle of vodka and cigarette butts. One evening, 2 days before Christmas, someone knocked at the door. We weren't expecting anyone. So I opened it, and I found 2 men standing there, wearing Christmas hats, and one of them said, "This is from Santa Claus," handing us this bag full of food, chocolate, and oranges. I will never forget the smell of those oranges. It stays with me until now. I felt so grateful that someone cared about us in the moment we needed the most. And it brought so much joy into our home during that Christmas time. When I was 8 years old, my mom left us for 3 days. I was so scared. I didn't know what to do. So, like always, I put my little brother in the kindergarten. I went to school. But that day, it was different. I was hungry. And I was so ashamed to ask for help. But I had no choice. I felt weak. And this is how we ended up at the orphanage with my little brother. I felt guilty to put my mom in that situation. But over time, I realized it was the right decision. The first time in my life, I had my own bed. We had food every day. And it was no more fight and violence in our home. I realized that even if we don't have a lot, we still can appreciate what we have. We still can be grateful for what life is giving to us in that moment. And it was my first lesson about joy. Gratitude is a pathway to joy. Every time we are grateful, every time we appreciate what we have right now, this is what makes our heart feel so alive. Every time we just embrace this unexpected kindness from others, that brings joy to our heart. Imagine waking up every single day with this one question: what can I be grateful for today? Think about something small that brings you joy to your life today. Something that makes you smile. And hold it in your heart right now. It can be a smile of your child, or maybe your partner, or maybe just your breath that you still have right now. At 11, I was sitting in my room at orphanage, listening to Sail Away by Enya. And I had a dream. I wanted to know who is my dad. He was living in France. So I decided to write him a letter that day. 3 months later, he responded. And I felt like dream come true. When I was 14, he came to Poland, to orphanage, to take me to live with him and his family. He didn't speak Polish. I didn't speak French. Imagine that. But leaving my little stepbrother was probably the hardest decision I ever made. But I promised him I will be back for you. And this is how I started my new journey in France with my dad. My dad wasn't a very talkative man, and I craved his love. I craved his attention. But this language barrier, the culture barrier, and this lack of communication built such a distance between us. So I was learning French, I was playing sport, especially basketball, and I was supporting my community. I wanted to show my dad that I was a good girl, but it was not enough. At 18, he kicked me out, saying, my home is not a hotel. So with 2 trash bags as a luggage, I had to start over. I was so afraid. I didn't know what to do next. And behind that mask of a strong girl, I felt lost. We didn't speak for years. And anger, resentment, and pain stayed with me for so long. But I promised myself, I will show you, I will thrive. So I worked hard. I found a job, I continued to studying, and in those moments where I was close to give up, I remind myself that promise I made to my brother. Years later, my stepmom called me saying, Sev, your dad is dying from cancer. I decided to visit him. I will never forget that day. It was 6th of May, my birthday, when I entered to his room at that hospital. The sunlight shone through the window. And when he saw me, his face lighted up. I walked closer, looking into his eyes. I felt just such a compassion for my dad, for that man who gave me life. I told him, Daddy, thank you so much for giving me the most precious gift, my life. And in that moment, I released something forever. It was no more anger, no resentment, just this pure love in that present moment with my dad. And with tears in his eyes, he quietly said, I'm so proud of you. I love you. In that moment, it was no more blame, no judgment, just as pure joy with being with my dad. In that moment, I learned something powerful. That joy can exist even in pain. It wasn't in his words. It was in that space between us. How many of you know that when you forgive someone, you not only free the other person, you free yourself? Yeah, it's absolutely true. Forgiveness, it's a pathway to joy. Every time you choose forgiveness, you create space for peace and compassion. And in that space, joy arises. So let me ask you, who do you need to forgive today? When you choose forgiveness, you create space for lasting joy in your heart. And when you own it, no one can take it from you. Years later, after reading a book, Awaken the Giant Within from Tony Robbins, I attended some personal development seminars. And I knew that I wanted to grow, I wanted to learn, to heal. And through that journey, I realized that there is something more for me. Through that journey, I found my purpose. In that moment, I realized that I don't have to be ashamed of my story. My story had power. My story had pain. But my story had joy. That power to help other people transform their life. I believed I was on that deeper journey of creating a deeper joy. And in that moment, not only I grew, but I decided to write a book. That book to not only heal myself, but to help other people reclaim their power back. And I will never forget that moment when I offered that book to my neighbor, Helene. Her husband has been killed in front of her and their 5 kids at their home. And she was in a such deep pain. Months later, she sent me a message, Sev, your book saved my life. Your story helped me to not give up. 1 year later, she sent me her own book. This beautiful story of healing and grieving. And I realized that the greatest gift in life, what brings joy, just to help someone. And I keep my promise to my brother too. After years of separation, he is living with me right now in Guadeloupe, in French Caribbean island, with his family, his children, and my beautiful children, where we just celebrating life. And every time I am looking at him, I just feel so grateful. And since 2016, I support kids in orphanage, helping them never give up on their dreams and to remind them their presence matters. And actually, I am so grateful. We are actually building this new home for welcome more kids to belong to one family. And this teach me the third lesson about joy. Helping someone, it's a pathway to joy. Every time you help someone, you create space for joy. You create this ripple effect. And it's found in the just simple smile, just one kind word, one appreciation. Imagine waking up every single day with just one question. Guess which question I'm gonna ask you. In whose life I'm gonna make a difference today? Joy and pain are both part of human experience. We can't avoid pain, for sure, but we can choose how we respond to it. Every time we welcome gratitude to our life, we choose forgiveness, we share some compassion, we help someone, just one life at a time. We create space for joy in their heart and in yours. Joy, it can be found in just this simple smile, the moment we share with someone, this quiet moment in nature, and just even in appreciating the smell of an orange. Joy is something that you can feel even in moments of pain, only when you create space for that. So, what will you choose today? How will you create more space for joy in your life? Because at the end, what truly matters? It's the joy we create, the love we share, and the memories we hold on to. It's just a journey. So, let's create more space for joy today while we still have time. Thank you.